Okay, excuse me. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 15th Annual Marking Business Model Competition Finals. My name is Erin Sefka, and I am a program manager at the AIM Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. We are an interdisciplinary center that works throughout the University and Rochester communities. We work to empower entrepreneurs and enable innovation. This year, students representing the college, the Simon Business School, the Hagem School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, the School of Medicine, and the Technical Entrepreneurship and Management program entered to compete in the AIM competition. In the preliminary round, UR alumni and entrepreneurs narrowed down all applications to 10 semifinalists, and we'd like to thank those judges again now. Lydia Alexa, Michael Anacino, Adriana Bourgeois, Chris Carpenter, Veronica Mayer, Peter Mann, Yvonne Nadeau, Berto Perez, Vashit Guru Prasad, Anca Shervin, Max Sims, and Attila Turi. Thank you to all our preliminary round judges. In the semifinal round, UR alumni and entrepreneurs again narrowed down the teams to the 5 you will see present today. A very warm thank you to Michael Kamish, Felipe Vasconcelos, and Kate Washington. So each team will have 6 minutes to pitch their venture, followed by 7 minutes of Q&A from the judges. Only questions from the judges are permitted. I will alert teams via Zoom chat and by showing the time remaining on my camera. Anyone who goes over their allotted time will be muted. Please keep yourselves muted throughout unless you're presenting or participating in the Q&A. Once all the teams have pitched, the judges will join a breakout room to deliberate. Teams and audience members are welcome to stay on the call to network before the judges return and we hear who the winners are of this year's Mark AIM Business Model Competition. Now I'd like to introduce to you the Vice Provost of Entrepreneurship, Professor of Optics, and collector of a great number of accomplishments, Duncan Moore.
No. Okay, thank you, Erin. As she already said, we had almost a record number of applications this year. One of the teams from last year, I don't think they're competing this year, right? Photonect? They're competing this year? Okay, and I'm not going to announce that at this point. I don't want to prejudice the judges. So this year, the entrepreneurship program at the University of Rochester ranked 9th nationally and number 2 in the Northeast, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to quickly introduce the judges. For reasons we can't figure out, Mark is not here, Mark AIM. We're trying to contact him, but I didn't want to hold up the competition. So Quincy, maybe you could wave to us, Quincy. Okay. He has an MBA from the U of R. He has a BS from Northeastern in Electrical and Electronics Engineering. He's a member of the AIM Advisory Council, and he's a former Chief Marketing Officer at IBM. Arunas, I can see you. There's a wave. He also has a master's from the University of Rochester, a BS from MIT, so both of them have a Boston route and a U of R route. He's has a long history in sustainability, and he's the chairman and CEO of Sweetwater Energy here in Rochester. Sujatha, she's in my right-hand corner. She has a PhD from the University of Michigan in electrical engineering. Here in Rochester, she's been very active in what's called the Illuminate Accelerator, which is co-located downtown at NextScore. She's an experienced executive and entrepreneur. With that, Erin, I'll turn it back to you.
Duncan, what are you talking about? Sujatha is not like a participant. She's the rock star. She drives that puppy program. Oh my gosh.
That's true.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Thank you, Ernest. He's now my favorite person. It was Duncan, but today it's going to be.
Oh, man.
But I change my mind easily, Duncan, just saying.
How quickly you get cut off the, voted off the island.
All right, thank you so much. So up first, we have Team Bio-Spire. So Bio-Spire, please go ahead and get your slides ready. Let me know when you're ready, and then I can start the timer.
All right, let me share my screen. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
All right, give me 1 second. Oh, to get myself ready. There we go. So hello and welcome everybody. We are Team Bio-Spire, and we have developed the first wearable device for the diagnosis of sepsis based on biomarkers in patient sweat. As a team who has an interest in improving the field of medicine, we wanted to focus on solving a problem that will have a large impact on both healthcare equities as well as healthcare in general. I want you to imagine 10-year-old Rose. She just got home from school with a scrape on her knee. Her mom puts a Band-Aid on it and everything is good. A few days later, Rose develops a fever and all her mom can think of is, crap, it's the flu. Now I need to try and find a babysitter too. She hopes the fever will decline soon, but it only gets worse over the days. Suddenly, Rose becomes widely disoriented, so her mom rushes her to the ER. Physicians scramble to understand what caused the severe flu symptoms. They're about to send Rose back home with some Advil when her mom remembers and mentions the scrape from days earlier. The doctors now suspect sepsis and initiate testing. Rose's mom waits hours and hours for the results, but by the time a positive results come back, it is too late. Just like Rose, too many people every day become victims of sepsis, oftentimes even without suspecting it. Sepsis results from an overwhelming immune response to an infection, which can lead to organ failure in a matter of minutes. Not only does sepsis cause 1 in 5 deaths worldwide, but the US hospitals alone spend $55.6 million per day on sepsis cure. Each hour that passes without antibiotic treatment reduces chances of survival by 7.6%. A large concern of physicians is that there are often no visible signs of deterioration until the patient is in septic shock. The current available solutions are not satisfactory either, as they involve drawing blood and may take up to 1 to 3 days for results. Our device is a wearable sleeve with 5 biomarker detecting electrodes. It offers a non-invasive alternative for real-time sepsis detection in patients. Bio-Spire is the only continuous monitoring device which monitors a patient's sweat for sepsis biomarkers. It allows for early detection of sepsis and early intervention within the critical period of sepsis onset, which could save thousands of lives and reduce costs for both patients and hospitals. Based on conversations with medical professionals at URMC about device placement, materials, and integration, this is what our prototype currently looks like. We have tested our device with fake sweat, and in the future, we are looking to improve the sensitivity of our device. We're happy to answer any questions you may have about our prototype. Our device will first be targeted to post-surgical patients in hospitals. We will focus on local hospitals, of which there are 277 in New York State alone, and then expand gradually. We have discussed the implementation of Bio-Spire with medical professionals at URMC, and they are very excited about this new product. As we increase our profit, we plan to offer our devices to lower income areas worldwide at a discounted rate. These low income regions have fewer medical professionals per patient and a larger need for a quick quantitative diagnosis. In the future, our technology can also be expanded to the detection of other conditions through sweat biomarkers, thereby further improving market size. We have defined our direct customers to be hospital intensive care units and our indirect customers to be post-operational patients. Our product will reach the customers through sepsis patient advocacy organizations such as the Sepsis Alliance, presentations at biotech conferences, reaching out to medical professionals, and contacting the purchasing departments in hospitals. To make sure that Bio-Spire is safe for patient use and cleared for distribution, we will have to go through the FDA clearance process and create a 510(k) application. We will open our own lab space to manufacture the device and the electrodes. Currently, our product is at the proof of concept stage. Eventually, we will expand our manufacture to the industry, but electrodes will be produced in our lab for quality purposes. We have various exit strategies planned to account for the entire business, individual executive board members, and main stakeholders, as well as to minimize losses upon potential business failure. We will be making profit from sales with a calculated gross profit margin of 61.9%. Our device production cost is $390. However, it will be sold at $1,000 per unit. A unit is defined as a reusable sleeve plus 10 electrodes. We will continue to make profit by selling additional electrodes at a cost of $1,000 per 100 electrodes. This model will ensure a continued profit while maintaining the cost of the device lower than most diagnostic devices on the market. In addition, our sleeve is reusable and only requires regular exchange of the electrodes, where 5 electrodes are required per patient. Taking into consideration that there are more than 6,000 hospitals in the US with over 900,000 staffed beds, and estimating that 70% of these beds would benefit from our product, as well as our predicted production rate, our business will be highly sustainable. Slide shows how our business will grow through our model. The first year, we expect to reach 17 hospitals and increase gradually, aiming to reach 2,000 hospitals by year 5, where we plan on selling 150 sleeves per hospital on average. As of right now, there's only one device in the field of in vitro diagnostic for sepsis that has been FDA approved in 2021 called Septicide. In contrast to Septicide's single sample diagnostic, Bio-Spire will continuously and non-invasively monitor the patient's condition, allowing for a quicker diagnosis. In addition, our sleeve will be reusable, increasing the incentive for hospitals to purchase our product. Typical diagnostic costs over $12,000, while ours will only cost $1,000, allowing us to reach a wider range of consumers. Finally, we can expand the use of our device to other diseases using the same technology. This is how we envision our positions to be in the company. We're all undergraduate students from different academic backgrounds that developed Bio-Spire as part of the International Genetically Engineered Machines competition, such that each of us already has experience in their respective positions. We will additionally require advisors such as medical professionals, a chief regulatory officer, and a chief financial officer. And these are just some of the roles we plan on filling in the future. Quick thank you to all of our sponsors that have allowed us to create the prototype, and a big thank you to all of you for your time, and we hope you enjoyed this presentation about our innovative device that has the potential to save millions of lives.
Are we ready for questions?
Thank you. Yes, if you have a question, go ahead and begin.
I have one. How do we just go in order, or how do you want to do that?
Sure. Why don't you go ahead first?
Okay. Here's my question: Is your device a hospital device, or is it? Are you thinking about making it a wearable?
Both. So currently, the way we plan on doing it currently, it's for hospitals first, for medical professionals to use, especially nurses and doctors mainly, to place it on the patients. However, in the future, we would like to expand the prototype such that it is easy to use, such that non-medical people can use it. So we can expand to nursing homes, for example, and eventually also at-home use for people that are at risk of developing sepsis.
Okay. Next question is, maybe you know this, but sepsis usually starts as especially in older people, as a UTI, and then it turns into sepsis. So do you want to detect it before it turns into sepsis, or you can detect once it is sepsis?
No, we want to start catch it early, pretty much. So once there is, for example, an older person that has a UTI and we know that they are at higher risk of developing sepsis, we will be placing this device on them to monitor these sepsis biomarkers. And what happens in sepsis is once they develop or are developing sepsis, these biomarkers tend to spike in concentration. And we want to try to catch that. Since it's not visible from the outside when the biomarkers spike, we do want, this device would allow to monitor this continuously on the patient, and then we can catch it and act much earlier than when the patient is actually already in sepsis and it might be too late.
Okay. All right. My last question. Have you considered an Apple wearable, and then your product or whatever could be just an app, and you could, once you got it on all of the Apple devices, you'd have it like a huge base of potential customers out there?
Yeah, we have been thinking about that. That would be definitely a lot of big future development to make this device a lot smaller, especially because we're concentrating on 5 biomarkers at the same time. We do need those 5 different electrodes, which is overall bigger than a small Apple Watch would be. So it would take a lot more technology to kind of bring it down, and more sensitivity to kind of compact it all into a watch size, which is why currently it is targeted towards the hospital patients, and then we can see eventually how we can make it smaller and then also make it Bluetooth compatible to have this app associated with it.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Sujatha, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a series of questions. We're going to start with, this is a diagnostic or detection device?
Both. It detects the biomarker concentrations in sweat, which are used for the diagnosis of sepsis.
So let me take a step back and say it better. What type of regulatory filing are you going for, diagnostic or detection?
Can you repeat that question?
When you go to the FDA and you file, are you going to ask them So a diagnostic is a definitive yes or no. A detection is, hey, look at this. What type of FDA filing?
Detection.
Detection. Okay.
Yeah.
Then walk me a little bit through your, because I see your revenue targets, and that's tied to how is the client engaged. So let's say you're saying it's in a hospital. Is it the ER? Is it the ICU? How is a patient identified as needing this?
So our first stage is targeting post-operative patients only as of now. So that every patient coming out of like a surgery would be getting this device. Obviously, the more intense the surgery, the more complicated it was, the higher the risk of sepsis. But technically, we would like to target all of the sepsis patients and everyone that is in an ICU setting, intensive care, and then gradually expand as we increase the sensitivity of device and the usability of it, increase the reach of this, especially because currently our device, we have visited the ICU at the URMC, and currently the technology of our device is compatible with ICU settings. So this is what it's currently for, pretty much.
Okay, and when you say first year revenue, $2.7 million, that is first year post FDA clearance, correct?
Yeah.
Do you have an approximate idea of how long that was? That 2 years, 3 years? Where?
It would take a long time, especially because we would like to patent it first, and then we obviously have to go through a lot of clinical trials for this device as well, which will take a lot of money and also quite a few years to get done, depending on when we can.
I don't know that it will take you as much money as you think right now, because if you pair with someone else who's in the same space, you might be able to do it faster. But
yeah, that would be the idea, to see if we can cooperate with someone. Okay.
Final question. What is your efficacy rate in postoperative care? Do you have an idea of how effective it'll be?
So we definitely need to work on the sensitivity still. We can detect up to a very small concentrations in the nanomolar range of biomarker concentrations, but some of the sepsis biomarkers that we're focusing on are a lot smaller, so we do need to increase sensitivity even more to make it more specific and sensitive to sepsis. But our first testing that we have been done was very successful so far.
Okay, thank you.
Runis, do you have a question?
Just one. Tiana, thank you very much. When you think about your last biggest remaining technical hurdle that keeps you up at night, what would that issue be that you and your team still have to figure out?
So I'd say there's pretty much two. There's one, the sensitivity I was just talking about. And the other option is that since we're using a patient's sweat, and obviously our patients are lying in bed, they're not running around, they're not producing a ton of sweat. There's something called iontophoresis, which is used to locally induce sweat through pharmacokinetics. And we need to figure out how we can best incorporate that into this device. There's multiple options that we're considering, including a cream that can be applied locally on the arm, for example, where the device is placed on. But that's definitely a part that we still need to think of, that we can locally and safely induce sweat in the patient to collect these biomarkers non-invasively.
So saliva is not an option for you?
We considered it at first, but the concentration of biomarkers is much better in sweat. And additionally, if we want to continuously monitor the patient, just having a device placed on the arm or the leg or so would be much more comfortable than constantly have to continuously spot their saliva and test it.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're
Just
welcome.
to add to that, we also still need to determine exactly how we are going to combine the 5 biomarker data that we have to make a better model so that we can be more predictive and the doctors can use our information as well as possible.
And that is time. I know Mark has hopped on. Would you like to ask a question, Mark?
No, that's okay.
Press the mute one more time.
So Aaron, the next time we do the rounds, let's go around, have each judge ask a question, and then we'll keep circling so that we don't run out of time, that one judge doesn't get asked any questions.
Okay.
And as you can see, Marquet has joined us. Thank you, Mark. You're on mute.
Oh, it's still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, my laptop died. So I dug up this probably 8-year-old laptop and loaded Zoom on. And that's why I was delayed a bit.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Did you have questions for this team before we move on?
No, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Bio-Spire.
Thank you.
All right, team Screw It Kit is next. So go ahead and load your slides. If you share your screen, just let me know when you're ready and I'll begin the timer.
All right, I'll just let Allie go full screen here. Okay. Thank you for joining us on Zoom today. I am here representing my team to pitch our screw insertion trajectory kit and why surgeons shouldn't just say screw it. So imagine you've broken your leg so severely that your surgeon tells you that you need plate and screws to fixate your bones in an open reduction internal fixation surgery, also known as ORAF. During the procedure, the surgeon first drills a pilot hole and then inserts the screw that must follow the same trajectory through the intramedullary canal in order to gain purchase in the far cortex of the bone. But do you ever stop and ask your doctor how many screws they use to fix your fracture? Do you even care? What if I told you they just free-handed the screw insertion? Sounds a bit far-fetched, right? Wrong. The image on the far left represents a correct screw insertion, and the two models on the right demonstrate two possible adverse events that are most commonly experienced in the OR according to our voice of customer feedback. When asked what happens if these things occur and they find they did not gain sufficient purchase, surgeons say they will often just insert another screw. In other words, the current standard for surgeons is to rely solely on pure memory and surgical experience. This issue is critical as incorrect screw insertions can lead to further fracturing the bone or improper fixations that increase the risk of revision surgeries that are very costly. And with almost 90,000 ORAFs occurring per year, resulting in 8% contribution to inpatient hospitalization, there's a lot of opportunity for additional and unnecessary screws. So we have developed a functional prototype that is comprised of a tracking system that would attach to the back of an already existing bone drill with the ability to save the initial pilot hole angle and give real-time feedback using LED lights to point the surgeon in the right direction. Our value proposition is targeted towards the orthopedic surgeons who perform ORF procedures and would provide the main benefit of real-time feedback for screw insertion trajectories, unlike the current freehand method or current technologies that are only to be used in conjunction with IM rods. In the preliminary to testing, our device has already been shown to have 100% accuracy rate, assisting users inserting screws into pre-drilled holes compared to the freehand method that was only 62.5% accuracy. The key features that give us a competitor advantage from other devices is our ability to give real-time visual and auditory feedback, the ability to use our device regardless of surgical experience, the target application of screw trajectory insertion for ORF screw and plate systems specifically, reducing the need for additional X-ray images to confirm correct screw placement, and meeting the unmet clinical need of decreasing adverse events associated with not gaining sufficient purchase in the far cortex of the bone. We have already brought our solution to 2 orthopedic surgeons, and they have confirmed that this would be a great addition in the operating room. Here we have identified our niche in the market, which would lie in the opportunity gap located at a high efficacy while maintaining a lower cost than super technical guidance systems that aren't even applicable in the ORF space, as they, again, are only used with IM rods and not plate and screw systems. The surgical power tools market we aim to enter is quite lucrative, with the target market in New York alone being valued at $12 million. However, our first customer that we would focus on would be the orthopedic surgeons within the URMC network, whom already we've identified as an unmet clinical need. We plan to sell 3 different options of kits as outlined in this table. The pricing of our kits was based on VOC feedback and evaluation of current competing products, which are priced greater than $25,000, which makes our products a cheaper alternative. Our aggressive gross profit margin can be attributed to not only our high selling price, but our low cost of goods, which will likely increase with added manufacturing costs as we scale up. After 3 years, we projected to be valued at almost 38 million, and our exit strategy would be to be acquired by one of the 5 dominating companies in the orthopedic industry by the end of year 5. This chart shows our sales forecast for the first 3 years, where the blue represents the total revenue and orange represents the contribution margin. We are assuming an average of 5 devices will be purchased per hospital in year 1, but has the potential to grow to reach over 1,000 trauma centers in the US. We are currently expected to have $100,000 borrowed from friends and family for seed funding, and are asking for $500,000 from investors to rapidly scale our manufacturing. And we're assuming the business would be worth $25 million at the end of year 5, giving our investors a 10 times return on investment. Here is our management team, currently led by our 4 founders of engineers and financial economic backgrounds. We are also supported by a panel of advisors who support us with extensive experience in entrepreneurial, clinical, regulatory, and IP affairs. We will now take any questions from the judges, and thank you for your time.
Question, how long have you been doing this, developing the product?
So we've 3 of our 4 team members are engineers coming out of the CMTI program at the University of Rochester in the Biomedical Engineering Department. We've been working on this product development for 8 months now, starting last August, where we started in clinical rotations, observing unmet clinical needs in the OR at Strong.
So why couldn't somebody else do it, what you're doing?
So that's a great question. We spoke with other medical device reps, and again, currently they've only been focused on IM rods. We were in correspondence with a Stryker representative who said that Stryker is also working on a similar, but they're working on a device that would use different technology. Our technology is really, we wanted to keep it simple, and so to limit the kind of errors that would be included in like a human factors or heuristic analysis.
Can I ask a question? I'm looking at this chart about your financial ask, and you ask over $500,000 for 20% equity. When I look at this, though, I don't see where your regulatory strategy falls in, because this is increased production, but you probably have had to go through regulatory. And how much money do you think you need for that by when?
So our regulatory strategy is to go through the 510(k) process as a class 2 device. And according to the medical device user fee amendments, or the current standard fee for the 510(k) process is $12,000, but the small business fee is around $3,000. So we would probably approximate using the $3,000 small business fee.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase that question and ask, what are you budgeting for the clinical trials and the statistical and the data that has to go into the filing itself doesn't cost as much as doing the work. What are you budgeting for that?
So for the clinical trials, we haven't exactly outlined all of those, but that is a good question. And we would probably need to speak with more of our clinicians to get an estimate on what would be necessary after we look at also the guidance documents that would be associated for our device, and that would be required for our submission.
I have a question, just building on Mark's question, is there IP here? Could you sort of protect your process? Have you started that process?
Yep, so we actually have a extra slide on that, Allie, if you want to jump down to that one real quick. So we did do a preliminary patentability search, and we believe that it could be patentable. We do have a novel aspect to our design. However, the freedom to operate, we still need to do that. And so we're in the process of filing a provisional patent. However, we would want to consult further with an IP lawyer to get further clarity on our freedom to operate.
Okay, thank you.
Abby, my question for you is maybe a little bit different. What would be the opportunities in the veterinary health space for something like this to maybe move a little bit faster?
So that's a great question. And I honestly don't have a great answer for that. We didn't look too far into the veterinary space. We do know that ORFs occur mostly in the trauma area and are more likely in older patients with lower bone quality. but we could look further into the prevalence of bone fractures, severe bone fractures in veterans, and that would probably kind of drive the potential market there.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't think I quite understood. Did you say veteran or like veteran as in animals?
Yeah, I was thinking more animals.
Oh,
myself.
okay. I'm sorry. So it could be, yes, it could be potentially used in the veterinary space as well. I do have a colleague over at Cornell doing his veterinary program there. So I do have strong connections there. He's also working on a startup. But yeah, this could be used if they use similar plate and screw systems. We did speak, one of our clinicians that we spoke with in a usability testing was a hand surgeon. And although like hand surgeons don't use plate and screw systems, he did see value still with our device to be potentially adapted for smaller uses or on a smaller scale than like large bone.
Okay, thanks.
What I don't understand is who are your potential competitors? Is anybody doing what you're doing now?
So currently, as far as marketed devices, no. We looked at Smith & Nephew, Globus Medical, Stryker are all our current competitors who have plate and screw systems currently marketed, but no one has the assistive trajectory devices. If you go to our competition slide, we have a one that gives the full layout. Yep. So right now, as you can currently see, most of them are only focused on drill trajectory and not the actual screw trajectory. And they are only used in conjunction with intramedullary rods and not plate and screw systems. So this kind of gives a component comparison with all of the other devices. And these are the most relevant devices that we were able to find currently marketed.
We do have time for one more quick question. We have 45 seconds. Ernest or Sujata, did you have an additional question?
Yeah, I guess my only other question was, beyond the initial sale price of the product, what would be, I didn't catch it in the presentation, what's the ongoing revenues from the user of your device? Are there any consumables that they have to buy from you or licensing fees?
Consumable wise, our device would be reused. We do have a calibration piece that would be considered consumable, but that's integrated into the cost of the kit. So based on a meeting with one of our business coaches, it was advised, because we were told that implants really drive revenue. It's not the usables or consumables in medical device industry. It's really the implants that drive revenue. So that's why we want to integrate our own customizable screw and plate system, because that would be the implant that would drive the revenue.
Can you give us a brief update as who's on your board? Who are your advisors?
Yeah, we do have a slide here, and I apologize. I think Aaron's saying we're at time, but I can post a link to our website that also has a list of our advisors on there as well. So I can put that in the chat for further information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. All right, thank you, Team Screw It Kit. Next up, we have Photonect. And let me know when you're ready.
Can everybody see my screen and hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. I'm Juniyali, the CEO of Photonect. We are providing soldering for photonics. So what exactly is photonics and where we are using it? So this Zoom call we are having right now, it's all over internet. And internet has to go somewhere for processing. So we use optical fibers to carry them to data centers where all your processing is happening. You can imagine data centers as warehouses with thousands of computers. But each data center has a building block called as optical transceiver. And this is as big as a Mars candy. So your fiber has to connect here for the processing to happen. And that's where the magic happens. And this Zoom call is possible. Over the next 4 years, it is predicted that the industry will spend over $5.5 billion US just making these connections. And you might wonder why. Because 40% of the total cost of a photonic device is just in the attach process. So how does the industry currently do it? Imagine you have an optical fiber. It is as thin as a single strand of human hair. That is sending all the information. We have to send it into a photonic chip, very similar to an electronic circuit. And then industry currently relies on glue to actually connect them together. I'm not kidding, this is how it actually looks like. And when you glue something, it's very unstable. It decreases your performance, and the time the glue is drying, the process line is held up for 10 minutes, where you could have been producing many more of these units. So our technology, we have the same optical fiber, but we introduce a patented adapter technology, which will boost our signal. Secondly, remember the glue, which we don't like. So we're trying to use a laser to melt the fiber to your chip directly and within less than a minute. So increasing the efficiency. This is how it looks like in real life. We have a patent granted for the adapter technology. So our solution has two parts. First is the adapter technology, which is a design change in your chip. Secondly, this gives you the 4x signal boost. The Photonect machine will do your attachment process using a laser 10 times faster and can lead up to 50% cost savings for the manufacturers. Because of the signal boost, data center companies can actually save 2% annually in their electricity consumption as well. We spoke to about 250 and more key players in the industry. And what we found was that the number one problem is indeed the expensive fiber attach. So we went ahead and selected our initial customer segment as optical transceiver companies. Our revenue model, very similar to our technology, is twofold. First, we would license our chip design, the patented technology, and charge per adapter used. Secondly, we would sell our complete machine, which would do the laser attach process, either by modifying them to de-risk the barrier to entry or by selling a full machine for about $700,000 with a 70% margin. So our customer ROI is, why would they buy it, is if you're manufacturing 2 million units per year, you need 27 machines, but with Photonect, you can only do 5 machines, saving up to $22 million annually. So we selected the optical transceiver industry because it is about 7 billion currently and growing at 15% CAGR annually. Out of that, just in data centers or datacom with photonics, the serviceable market is 1.3 billion US dollars. Remember the 40%? That leads us to about $500 million US in just the fiber attach as the obtainable market. In our competition, we are the only company that uses laser technology to do the attach, making us the fastest in the industry. Because of our 4x patented adapter technology, we have the best signal performance in the market and can actually lead to cost savings up to 50% for the manufacturers as well as the companies. We are a very strong and diverse team. I'm leading the company as a CEO. Sushant here is the CTO. We're looking for management and sales team to expand our team. We have a very strong advisory team. Jaime Cardenas is our academic mentor who's providing us with research experience and help. Jim Oshman is the retired vice president from Ball Aerospace, giving us business advice. And Uday has about 25 years of experience in the optical transceiver industry. So we have worked on this technology for about 5 years. And also obtain the license. We would push the technology to the market by selling the adapter and then de-risk the machine launch by first modifying the machines existing and then launch a standalone by 2023. So our financials are cash negative initially, but we see growth from second year onwards about 300% annually. And by 5 years, we expect for a merger and acquisition with a bigger company. And then So we are Photonect. We are providing soldering for photonics. We are the fastest, most power efficient, and can lead up to 50% cost savings in your fiber to chip attach processes. Thank you.
Okay, I have a I have a question. What's the failure rate of the glue model, and what's the failure rate of your model?
So the yield numbers, they're not publicly available. For glue model, they're about 60%. And for us, by the research we have done in the lab, we have got about more than 90% till now.
I didn't understand. More than 90% of what?
Every time we do the attachment process using the laser, 90% of the time it's reliable and it works.
Okay, got it.
Can I ask you, when you look at that year 3, 10 million in revenues, how many customers and how many machines would that be?
Yes, so that is about, so year 3, we are projecting about
10 machines.
10 machines.
Yeah, and this can be either an early adopter customer that establishes a new line, or it can be money customers that want to try out our machine. So we are in talks with a couple of companies, but yeah, that is our projection.
And
because
go ahead,
please.
I was going to build on Arunas's question. So is this sort of, can I sell it on a sort of a self-funding model? If you look at the expenses of what someone would have, if they have a 40% failure rate, does your product pay for itself in the failure rate? So the customer comes out better off, even though they purchased your product. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just the failure rate, but also the cost per attach. We are reducing the cost per attach by about 50%. So the broad ballpark numbers we have is about 30 per attach right now. And it can go down to about 15 per attach with our technology from our calculations.
Right.
So even in 1 year of operation, this machine will save the customer about $3 million.
Yeah, that would be a good idea for you guys, just to put that chart together for a potential customer, where you show them you're a whole lot better off, even though you buy our product, you still save tons of money.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll go for another one. So how long does it take you to make a machine? Like, you're ready to go now? You don't have any technical hurdles to overcome? You could start, if you had funding, you could actually start the business and start selling today?
So first we would have to get the standards approval done from Telecodia, because that's where the telecom industry is going, and we are currently working towards doing the reliability testing. So that'll be the first step. And when the initial numbers look, we have already passed, but we have to do the humidity testing and cycling. So that'll take time. And after that, we are ready to get into the market.
Okay.
And we have been talking with a few OEMs that could, like, we can design the machine, give them specs, and they can manufacture all the parts, and we can just assemble it in-house and ship it out to a customer.
Yes.
And that's not a long timeline for us.
Okay.
I had a question for you on the, go ahead. Go ahead, Sujatha.
That's a very simple one. If you had to pick one company that you could collaborate with, that you could do a JDA with, this could potentially be an acquisition, for whom you could be an acquisition target, who'd you pick?
I would say Intel.
Yeah. Intel does their own fabrication, their own packaging. They have their own electronics. Like, they do electronics, photonics, A to Z, everything. So if we were to work with one company, it would be Intel, because it just simplifies our lives, because it's just everything in-house. Then we don't have to worry about anything else.
Just a comment about Intel. Intel does everything in-house, but they don't do their own tooling. They purchase their tooling.
Yeah.
It's from a tooling organization. They don't go one by one and buy each tool. So one of the things I would suggest to you is go figure out who they buy their tooling from.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
well,
your actual target.
well, yes. So
Yeah.
we were talking both in terms of like the mode converter technology and the process itself. But yeah, like there are non-disclosed
Yeah.
partners for Intel in this industry because it's a high R&D environment. So
Yeah.
people don't want to talk about who they are working with openly.
And we are looking into the suppliers for Intel as well. We have been talking.
We have contacts with them. So yeah, we are potentially going to work with them.
What was the your second favorite industrial application for this product application? Is there something beyond what you showed on the slide deck that would be interesting to pursue as well?
I think the next best would be quantum applications because it looks at the future and makes us future ready as well. And we would also be solving a big problem that quantum photonics has currently.
Because in quantum, like every photon counts, and the 4 times signal boost for our mode converter is a crucial part for the existing puzzle for quantum. And also our connection is a glass to glass bond. So it's projected to be way more stable under extreme temperatures compared to the glue connections.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We have time for one more quick question.
Well, now let's move on.
Please.
All right. Thank you, Photonect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
RHM Innovations, you're up. I'm going to go ahead and share your slides. And whenever you're ready, let me know.
Can everybody hear me and see the slides?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Before we begin, everyone grab a small object and hold it above your head like this. I'll let you know when you can put it down. Hello, my name is Brandon Davis. At RHM Innovations, we develop products to assist people with the bathing process. Our inspiration came from watching our loved ones decline towards the end of their lives. Bathing became especially difficult, taking an emotional toll as they sacrificed privacy and dignity for cleanliness. It was incredibly difficult for us to see them in such vulnerable and uncomfortable situations. Not only is this situation uncomfortable, but it is also unsafe and costly. Over 150,000 people are injured in the bathroom each year, costing $2 billion for hospital stays, and this is just for the elderly population. This pain is felt by the individual, their family, and also facilities, as these injuries cost an average of $6,200 per resident per year. We learned that bathing at these facilities is infrequent, time-consuming, and messy, which leads to injuries and significant liability costs, even with the use of a standard shower chair. The most critical safety concerns come from having to hold and move a slippery and heavy shower head. With our 8-arm product line, no one ever has to hold a shower head again. The 8-arm is a simple, easy to use ergonomic device that allows the user to control the flow of water while seated safely in a standard shower chair. The first lever on the side moves the shower head side to side, and the second lever on the knob moves the shower head front to back, enabling control, independence, and comfort while bathing. It clips onto the seat and is width adjustable to fit a variety of chairs. The levers can switch from the right to the left side, and it's height adjustable as well. You can put your arms down now. That was about 90 seconds. If that was difficult for you, how can we expect somebody more frail to hold the shower head spraying water for the duration of a bath? This is an image of our first physical prototype, which we are currently beta testing at Cloverwood, the premier elder care facility in the Finger Lakes region. We've also partnered with the Greenfields Continuing Care Community, the leading elder care facility in Western New York, to test and adopt our market-ready products. We've received high levels of interest in placing initial orders. This is Tom Hargrave Jr., a current 98-year-old resident of Cloverwood. Tom has trouble holding the shower head for long periods of time and has not felt safe enough to enjoy a long and comfortable shower. As you can see in this video, if it played, but it didn't, Tom is able to operate the 8-arm during a dry run of the device. He later used it to bathe and said it was the most comfortable he's been in the shower in years. Richard Finn, the executive director of Cloverwood, has expressed excitement of our partnership, saying, "We are the top facility and it's innovations like these that keep us on top." The aiding arm is the wheelchair for bathing, following a similar conservative price structure and medical device classification. We are on track to have our market-ready product done by July and Class 1 FDA approval by the end of the year. Our beachhead market is the aging population, specifically those receiving age-related care. Although elder care facilities only make up 25% of our SOM, it is our most critical market segment, providing a clear path to validate and build brand recognition for our products. Our products can also reach other market segments, including temporarily and permanently limited individuals, as they experience similar pain points during the bathing process. This translates to a substantial SAM value of $42.4 billion when selling the aiding arm at a wholesale price of $1,000 per unit. We can reasonably capture 5% of the available market, a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, and we want you to be a part of it. We will operate using an indirect distribution model. We will outsource production to our manufacturing partner and sell our products wholesale to durable medical equipment distributors, who will then market and sell our products to continuing care facilities and brick-and-mortar medical supply stores. A single unit of the aiding arm will cost $461 to manufacture, package, and ship. This will decrease when we produce at higher quantities. We will sell the product at the wholesale price of $1,000 and a consumer acquisition price of $1,200, allowing both us and distributors to have healthy margins. This is our P&L statement for the first 5 years starting in 2023. Our annual revenue will grow to over $30 million by 2027 as we acquire a distribution channel and expand nationally. We are executing a sound plan to build a successful and sustainable business that will contribute to economic growth in our region. We've raised $44,000 in non-dilute funds to develop our first physical prototype and file 2 provisional patents, protecting our innovative design. We formed key partnerships with leading engineering faculty and elder care facilities to ensure our products meet the needs of our market. In preparation for our national launch, we are cultivating partnerships with healthcare staffing agencies who have a combined network of over 100 elder care facilities across the US. Our team consists of myself and Courtney Burris. We are 5th-year PhD candidates and experts in research and development with extensive experience in sales and operations. To supplement this, we've assembled an advisory board of aging, business, and design specialists. Dr. Troen and Dr. Phillips have connected us with 8 elder care facilities. Dr. Paquette has overseen our design process, and Dr. Pena is helping us get FDA approval for our products so we qualify for insurance reimbursement. We are well equipped to execute this concept. We are participating in RIT Summer Accelerator, which has a heavy emphasis on customer discovery and product development. If we win the grand prize, we will file for a utility patent and manufacture a small batch of aiding arms to lend to multiple eager elder care facilities. We will be able to maximize our productivity during this program, generating interest from more early adopters as we prepare to execute our initial manufacturing runs and sales. This is essential for Courtney and I as we prepare to graduate and go full-time with RHM. But in order to get there, we need your help. Award us the grand prize in this year's Mark Ain business model competition. The aging population in upstate New York is greater than the national average, making this the perfect place to start. We also ask for introductions to executives at medical insurance companies. This will help us gain early support towards qualifying for insurance reimbursement. Thank you for your time, and if you're interested in learning more, please check out our website, sign up for our monthly newsletter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. And invest in your future with RHM.
Thank you. Is there anybody that would like to go first? Sujatha, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I just want to ask a little bit about the competitive landscape here. So you have this much easier to use method for showering and such for people who are disabled. Can you tell me a little bit about how this compares to maybe a side mounted shower nozzle? How big is your target market compared to the ones that have to sit down and maybe hold the shower nozzle with a side mount attached? I'm asking for market sizing over with the competitive advantage here.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start by saying that this is a very underdeveloped space. So really the main competitors are like giving an assisted bath or a stationary shower head clip. There's only been 2 other products that have been sort of tried to develop. When we did our patent search, we found that there was a product out of South Korea that was like a shower head facing the user and couldn't really move it. So, and then there was another device out of Sweden that like had like a bunch of really heavy bristle brushes that like wash the user around them. And so they were very uncomfortable and were designed really like human car washes. So we're the first company to develop the first products that are really user focused to give the user their independence back and their usability back. As far as the market size, like I said, this is really underdeveloped. There are not really any other products in this space that, like I said, currently exist that give the user the ability. A lot of our users, we've done over 200 interviews of customer discovery with end users, loved ones, nurses, aides, and executives in multiple other care facilities. So a lot of the issues come from like mobility with shoulders. So a lot of rotational issues. So our device is just using a simple push-pull motion and 2 levers. We're currently beta testing our first prototype, and we've had a lot of users use it at Cloverwood, which is the leading elder care facility in the Finger Lakes region. In the video, which didn't play, there was a 98-year-old man named Tom Hargrave. He has like all of these users are older and they have trouble standing. Him and then 2 other elderly ladies had a wonderful time using it. And we're actually developing our market-ready product done by July, which is going to have a lot more durable materials, and it's going to be near frictionless. So it's going to be completely easy to use for everybody who's going to use it. And I guess one last thing I'll mention is there are like shower chairs that like are for users that have complete lack of ability, and that's manufactured by a company called Arjo, but those are really for skilled nursing, and we're not really targeting that market. So ours is really independent living, assisted living, and home care is like the aging population. And then any other people that fit into the temporarily or permanently limited disabilities, whether it's an injury or chronic illnesses.
Thank you. A quick question, because I don't see anyone else jumping in. How heavy is it?
Currently it weighs 15 pounds. And so additional, like the shower chair itself is 5 pounds. So total it's 20 pounds. It's actually gonna be lighter when we source our more durable materials.
Tell me again how the user moves it from side to side and up and down.
Yes. I'm actually just gonna go see if I can play this video for us. And so, yeah, his trouble loading, but this lever moves the shower head like along this gantry side to side. And then this lever here moves this shower head front to back. And so just literally using 2 simple push-pull motions, that's how it works. And you can lock the levers in position along any position along the track, so you can customize your bathing experience.
So I assume you plug it in somewhere. Do you have electricity, or is it only runs on battery?
Nope, no electrical components, so there's no issue with the water. It's purely mechanical. But we're also developing a luxury model that is going to be automated. And actually the executive director of Cloverwood is paying for the entire development process, and we get to keep the IP in exchange for 6 months of exclusivity, so they can be the top dogs still in the area. So we are working on one that is more automated, but this one is purely mechanical.
So how long does the power last in the battery? How many people can use it before it has to be recharged?
So this one doesn't have a battery. And we are currently doing, like, we haven't done quality control yet, but in the fall, we're actually going to be hiring an intern to do the quality control to see how many showers and how much movement it actually takes for it to decay. Unfortunately, in facilities, patients are only bathed 1 to 2 times a week. So one of the value propositions we're hoping to add with this is that we're going to increase the usability and streamline the bathing process, so residents will be able to bathe more frequently.
So where would the battery be when you put it in?
There's no battery. It's purely mechanical.
Okay. What you
like
say?
It's just levers. So it's a pulley. It's a lever pulley system.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, the only question I had was, I'm wondering, a financing program for consumers as opposed to the nursing homes, is that something you've ever thought about?
Yep, we are definitely exploring those options. So our go-to-market is going to the nursing homes, and that's really going to serve to build the brand awareness. We're actually we're in conversations with Rochester Regional Home Care, and they're excited to test our products too once we're ready. So if we win the grand prize today, one of those aiding arms will go towards the occupational and physical therapist staff to the Rochester Regional Home Care for them to try it out. We're applying for FDA approval as well. So we're going to qualify for insurance reimbursement. So ultimately much of it should be covered by insurance by the time people are ready to buy it. And our go-to-market is by the end of the year, we'll be able to do our first manufacturing runs and fulfill pre-orders that we're taking for the products.
Have you thought about a Kickstarter campaign for this?
Yep. We have thought about a Kickstarter campaign. We're actually talking with, so Sean DeClercq is the CEO of a crowdfunding platform for manufacturing companies called Kickfurther. They were a 43 North company, and they specifically help companies like that have manufacturing capabilities to raise money for their manufacturing runs. So that is one thing that we're also considering.
I mean, this just feels like a Kickstarter program. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you all. Oh.
Great. Thank you, RHM Innovations. Last up, we have Team Bubble Trouble. So go ahead and get your slides ready. I'll get my timer ready. Let me know when you're good to go.
Sure thing. Just let me know how it looks on your end and should be good to go.
Okay, we can see it. Yep. Whenever you're ready.
Evening, everyone. I'm Warish with Team Bubble Trouble, and we want to ask you about 15 minutes. Is it enough? It is enough to get a better deal on car insurance. It is enough to convince you to give us $10,000 to make this venture a reality and get it off the ground. It is woefully inaccurate and woefully inadequate when it comes to the hospital space, where every second counts and your life is at the stake. We're talking about a procedure that is performed tens of millions of times around the world and the US, where scientists are trying to get a better view of what's going on inside your body by injecting you with contrast agent and getting a closer look. We're talking about a scenario where, in this case, we want to look at the contrast agent market. Here, when the clinicians are injecting with contrast agent, there's a 15% risk that along with the liquid comes a little bit of gas, just enough to go into your blood vessels and give you a risk of stroke, seizure, heart attack, or in the worst of cases, death. We find this is absolutely unacceptable in the market, even though it is taken to be accepted and taken for granted, because a better solution just hasn't come along. We think that in these cases, it's time to disrupt the market and revolutionize how liquids are injected into the body. That is why we made it our mission at Bubble Trouble to make contrast agent injection faster, safer, and simpler. How so? We want to use our novel technology, the bubble stopper, pictured here on the left in enclosure form, and on the right, the filter component, capable of taking out the bubbles from liquids being prepared for surgical injection. What does this look like? This means that in the status quo, clinicians are trying to tap on the syringe over and over and over again, trying to make sure every last bubble is out. This means that in these cases, their knuckles are turning bruised and purple with how much they're concerned about making sure these bubbles don't enter the patient. Through the use of our technology, they can either press one button and have a syringe filled up, ready to go in 5 minutes, which is a 50% reduction in time, or set it up ahead of time in the morning based on how many contrast agent injections they expect to perform that day. We see on the left is our capital portion at $2,000, on the right is our disposable at $50. We want to bring significant value to clinicians, and through our months of clinical observation and talking to dozens of clinicians in interventional radiology and many other fields, they concur with our belief. They agree that there's catastrophic circumstances if these bubbles are not tackled. They are nervous and they're scared. And that's where we come in. We want to reduce the rate of complications and parallelize the preparation of contrast agent from making something you do one at a time in labor-intensive, rate-limiting step to something you can do in one go with a batch of items and be prepared for the rest of the day, giving clinicians the peace of mind they need to save lives. We're also talking about significant value to hospitals themselves, where if through the use of our device, they save enough time to perform just one more angiogram per day per operating room, that means the average hospital would see a value increase of over $3.5 million a year. That's significant, especially to hospitals that rely on these specifically to keep their operations afloat in a time when hospitals are struggling to make sure that their bottom lines are met. This means that across the US as a whole, we're looking to improve the value by almost $4 billion in this space. To talk about the market specifically, our beachhead is the angiography equipment market because that's where it lines up best with our skill sets. But the sky's the limit. We also want to enter the competitive markets of auto injectors with companies like GE Health and Bayer play around in this space. This is a highly growing field that we want to take advantage of. But any situation where you can imagine someone in a hospital needs liquid injected into them, such as hemodialysis, or if you know someone personally who regularly has to get infusions, this is the product that could make their lives significantly easier and give them their lives back. Our strategy is simple. We want to minimize our risk and liabilities exposures by making us an asset-light, value-added reseller, in the same way that Airbnb wants to make its operations smooth and effective without taking on too much of the baggage. We want to be able to resell by partnering with contract manufacturers to get our product out there as soon as possible. We want to use our intellectual property, which we're in the process of filing a provisional for with the use of the money we will hopefully earn today. It's to protect ourselves against investment from these corporations who seek to put us down. We don't just want to become a device, but we want to become a platform that is trusted and asked for by clinicians across the world. We have diversified our revenue stream in this case to protect us against market fluctuations. And we want to aggressively enter the market, by example, for giving the first 100 free, because we would recoup that investment disposable income in the first 2 months. Our path to market starts here at this competition, not before. We see in this case, we're fundraising right now and asking those close to us to match the funds that you would provide us in this competition. We want to make sure your money goes as far as possible in helping us get this off the ground. And as we look in the process of obtaining patent protection, filing a 510K for our class 1 device, and to then enter the market. Once we have entered the market, we're projected to break even in a little under 2 years. We see, therefore, that our strategy is to be able to wait for a favorable acquisition. We're not looking to exit the market as soon as possible because we believe in this product and believe in what it can do for us. So we're looking for a company that shares the same vision and not just the one cutting the biggest paycheck. We are very grateful to everyone we've talked to throughout our time and whose advice and guidance has made this project possible. We're very happy to answer any questions you have at this time. Thank you.
I have a question. I didn't get it. Is your device a mechanical device? Is that how you eliminate the bubbles with a mechanics somehow?
Yes. So the version 1 of our device in this scenario uses the filter, the disposable component on the right of this slide. So to allow for one chamber to allow the air to exit and remove that. In future iterations, we are in talks with leading nanotechnology professionals at the University of Rochester to incorporate things such as nanomembranes to filter out smaller and smaller bubbles and get closer and closer to absolutely bubble-free.
So if the failure rate of the previous way to do it is 15%, what's your failure rate?
We only have bench testing data at this point, which is part of where the funding would go. But right now we've focused on eliminating visible bubbles. So we have reduced the number of bubbles by around 40 to 55%. And we've eliminated the biggest and most problematic bubbles.
So what does that equate to? I'm just trying to get because you said 15% on the other side, embolisms, et cetera. What do yours equate to? What's your failure rate equate to that 15%? How would I look at it commonly?
Sure. We don't want to make a statement there that we don't have the data that we believe in to back it up. So we don't have, because that 15% comes from decades of clinical observation in the hospital setting. So
Is your goal for that to be zero?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the reimbursement or insurance aspects of this business? And what did you find?
Sure. So we see that there's a significant value to this side of the business because we think they're interested in reducing risk. So right now, there would be significant value to a hospital, for example, of reducing the amount of exposure they have in malpractice suits and things that they take for granted. So we do want to get in talks with insurance professionals sooner than later to be able to incorporate ourselves into the reimbursement codes and ICD-10 codes as soon as possible. So we do want to have a clear path to making sure that's possible.
Okay.
Warish, could I ask you a question? If let's assume that your commercial product kind of does what you want it to do, but isn't as good as you hoped it would be. In that scenario, is there a particular procedure that is still gets huge benefits, preventative benefits, even though you may not have an optimal device for that particular, you know what I'm trying to ask here?
Yeah, and that's a great question because the one we want to break into is characterized in angiography. That's characterized by one injection for one patient, not very often. Whereas for something like hemodialysis, where they're consistently getting injected, or someone's getting infusions, for example, that's a high volume case where there's a lot of injections going on, and that's where the time-saving component of our device really shines. So for clinics that really focus on throughput, they would really find significant value in reducing the time taken by using our device. So we do want to target both where time matters and risk matters.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
I'm going to ask another question since I don't necessarily, I hope I'm not cutting anyone else off. I want to understand a little bit about the buy cycle of like how you envision the sales cycle going. Do you see it as an add-on to something else that's sold to a hospital? Is it sold to insurance? Is it I mean, who is actually buying this and how?
Sure. So right now, we think the easiest way to get there is as an add-on to auto-injector systems. So this looks like interventional radiology clinics. This looks like critical care facilities, hospitals, teaching hospitals, anywhere that it's possible to get an infusion. So this looks like for the first purchase is our capital device on the left. And then for each procedure, they would be purchasing the disposables on the right. So we see it as a two stream of revenue that we can rely on.
Because the question I'm trying to ask is, who is your actual customer? Because are you selling it to the person who is selling equipment into the hospital? Are you selling it to the facility? Or are you selling it to the facility? Or is it the end user?
That would be the hospital value analysis committee. So those in charge of making purchases of capital equipment for a hospital. And we think in our research that we've done in voice of customer collection, a key thing that these committees look for is what advocacy from inside. So that's really a key focus for us. So where we would connect with clinicians working there who would then be able to be our advocate and champion for our device. And a lot of our sales strategy is focused around that as well, such as giving the first 100 for free because to recoup the investment to disposables.
Yeah, I just want to add on to Sushant's question. I think that's why I asked a question about the failure rate, because the hospitals also want to reduce, everybody's trying to lower their risk. So if you guys can really say that you remove all the bubbles and in your process, if you can sort of guarantee that you don't get those failures anymore, I think it would be, I would actually sell it on that benefit, even if it gives you some other value adds. I think that's a good approach from a risk standpoint, if it eliminates the risk that they have associated with bubbles.
Yeah, that really ties into our regulatory strategy, because we would be pursuing a 510K with bench testing data. So to make sure that there aren't conflicts of interest from perhaps in-house testing, we're looking at contract research organizations to test our device, put it up against the standard, and be able to have evidence that we can point to that says this is worth purchasing for these committees. And because to these individuals, data speaks volumes.
Right.
So we definitely want to speak their language.
Right.
And that's time.
Thank you.
Well, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bubble Trouble. And thank you all the teams that presented today. Great job. So at this time, I will be sending the judges to a deliberation breakout room where we will discuss your presentations today. So you may all hang out here and network, or you can go, but keep your video on and listen for us to come back. We'll be back shortly. So judges.
Oh, okay. And number 2 is Photonect. And the winner of this year's competition is RHM. So I want to thank everybody for participating in the contest this year. It's as one of the judges said, the quality of the plans are getting better every year, which I agree with. I think that over the last, well, we've done it for 15 years. And so, it takes a while to get the whole system running. And with all the classes that we now teach that we didn't teach, 15 years ago, it makes a difference. And we should make a note to Greg Gajowski about, the number of teams that came out of the CMTI program. That's, it's really a tribute to his leadership that they've done so well in these competitions. So with that, we would normally have a reception. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So it's commencement week here at the University of Rochester, as you know, and lots of things are being scaled back a little bit. So with that, is anybody, any of the judges want? Well, I guess Mark and Arunas are the only ones still here. I don't know if either of you want to say anything.
Just they did a great job. It's awesome. I enjoy participating. Thanks for letting me sit in. It was great.
Thank you, Arunas.
And Aaron will be in touch with all the winners to give you instructions on what to do next in order to receive the prize money.
Thank you to the judges and the Ain Center staff, and it was a pleasure competing this year.
Great job, everyone.
Great job, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night.